And we are live again. So here we go, episode 8. Apologies, we are about a minute late because we had some technical difficulties, and you would have in any situation probably. So, but anyway, we got it sorted, and now we're here. So, thank you to everyone who is listening and who is watching. And today we are going to talk about 7 qualities of a successful entrepreneur. So basically, we just look at what articles are saying, and Dan and I will just jump in to look at each of those qualities and just share our thoughts around those specific qualities with you, and just sharing our thoughts and see how you think. Anything else you want to add, Dan, before we jump into the first one?
You know what? The thing is that, like, when it comes to the topic of our broadcast today, for me, it's like I don't have a list in my head that every entrepreneur should have this kind of list, but I have certain, let's say, picture in my head of a successful entrepreneur, how he should act, behave, and through these actions and behaviors representing his qualities, traits of character. And the fact is that there is no article, there is no book that will tell you that this is 7 golden traits of character that every entrepreneur should have. There is no such a thing. I've seen on many articles that the answers vary. That of course there are some traits, some qualities that are overlapping, but honestly, with not every quality mentioned, I agree. So it will be very interesting discussion tonight.
Exactly that. I think that's a very good point, right? Which is you can read any articles on entrepreneur.com, on Forbes, and whatever, and then every article will tell you the top 3, the top 5, the top 7, the top 12, the top 20. The truth is, there are just like some certain traits, but you don't have to say agree with all of them, or you might have your own way of doing it. So there's not like a one size fits all guide to say you must have this 7, then you can become successful. So I think that's a good intro to that. Okay,
I also think it will be important for us to debunk some misconceptions about certain qualities, because certain qualities are well known to everyone, that this is the quality that every entrepreneur should have. But at the same time, people have they might have misconception about some of those qualities. So it's our role tonight to articulate clearly what we mean by those qualities.
cool. And I've got the 7 here. I know that we've shared some articles between us, but I picked 7. It'll be interesting to see whether we agree or disagree on them, basically.
Okay.
So the first one that a lot of articles said that you need to have is confidence, right? So what do you think? Let's just say confidence, right? In the very big umbrella term. What do you think? Confidence for a successful entrepreneur?
I don't like. I don't think that most of successful entrepreneurs have this crazy confidence at the very beginning. I think that loads of entrepreneurs are very confident at the very beginning. They have this belief of the cause, of the purpose, but the great confidence will build over time. And I think that successes are like great foundation of a confidence. And that's why you have many entrepreneurs who, if they lose big, like for example they go bankrupt, they might go up again. Let's look at Jordan Belfort. He failed big time. I mean, he was a criminal in some sense, right? The Wolf of Wall Street. He went to jail, and he realized his wrongdoing. He left jail, and he's a millionaire again now. So I think this monster confidence that he gained through his previous success, even though it was illegal success, made him achieve success again. So I think that confidence is not a quality that you will get from the start, but confidence is the quality that you will develop over time. But of course, you need some confidence to even start your journey as an entrepreneur.
Mhm. I would echo the last point that you just made there, which is from because I like everything like to do with like mindset, and I read a lot of books, right, to understand all these terms, etc. So a lot of people talk about confidence, and I think let's just use this opportunity to clarify. In my opinion, I think the definition of confidence that I think, okay, I never thought about it this way, which is confidence is not about like, oh, being like aggressive and go, oh, I can do this, I can do that, like it's not that kind of confidence we're talking about here. Like that's a bit egoistic, but it's more like, I know that no matter what happens, I can figure this thing out. And that is a new definition of confidence that I've learned, that I thought, okay, that's an interesting way of seeing it. So for example, I like what you said, that in the beginning, like now we are in a stage where we're just starting out, there will be things that we don't know how to do. There will be things that we will get stuck on. There will be things that we have no clue what we are talking about or whatever. But it's about having the confidence, not going in there to be like a like fake it until you make it. It's not that you're faking things out, but it's just going there to think that, okay, I've got this challenge in front of me, but I know that I can find a way to address or face this challenge. And that is the confidence that we are talking about here, or that's the way that I see it. And that's the thing that I'm learning about. I used to think like, oh, some people are really confident, and all you see is all this sort of like, when you think about confident people, you're like, they're like chest is high, they're like pumped up, they walk like that, like that's kind of confidence. But that's not the kind of confidence that I think is helpful for us. I think everyone can have confidence, and actually confidence is just when things happen, you know that you can find a way to get around it. You can figure it out. So, and I think that's very important in the beginning, right? Because you have to learn everything from scratch. You will come across things that you are not aware of. You'll come across new things. You'll come across like overwhelm, stress. But it's when you face those things, instead of being thrown over by you go, okay, I'm having this now, but I know that there's a way I can get around it. And then your job becomes finding the way to address those challenges that you have in front of you. And that's a good definition of confidence that I've learned since. And I think it's really nice and applicable to our lives, basically.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the I think that's the modern definition of it. Like that's very often definitions give us certain impression of things. We translate those definitions into pictures, and this new definition paints very different picture. Because like previous definition, previous image of confidence, of being confident, was very much associated with being cocky. What you said, being aggressive, being cocky, but it's not the thing anymore. So really good that you expressed it in your
Yeah.
speech.
And another thing that's the reason why I learned about this was that I'm not sure whether people had heard of this term called imposter syndrome. And this is often talked about alongside confidence. So imposter syndrome is almost like when you do something, you feel like you are faking to be someone else who you are not, and you're trying to show people that you're good at something, that you kind of feel like, oh, I'm not quite worthy of that, etc. So, and I used to think that way. I was like, oh, so for example, like coaching and teaching, right? I'm thinking, like, oh, who am I to coach? Who am I to teach? I feel like I'm not showing something that can help them. But actually, you're not an imposter if you're doing things that you have done already. So in my case, I feel like, okay, I don't know what to do and what to teach, but when I talk to people, they're like, oh, so you've gone through all those challenges. What was going through in your head? How did you find answers? How do you find routes? How do you find frameworks? How do you find ways to get around them? Those are things that principles and habits that you can extract out and apply into any situations. And that's what you're teaching people because you have gone through them already. So it's not like I'm going there to teach you how to make 10 million. Because I have not done it, and if I go down there and teach people that, then I would be an imposter. Then I would fail imposter syndrome. But if I go out there and teach people like, okay, how to set up a side hustle, how to find some clients using Facebook ads, which I've done, then I know I'm not an imposter. I might not be extremely good at it yet, like I'm learning, but I can tell people to say, when you first start off, at least this is what you can do. You understand how Facebook ads work. You understand how to understand your audience. You understand how to do research and homework. Then those are the things that you can help people get there. So I just want to mention that because confidence often get mentioned alongside imposter syndrome.
But you talking about, imposter syndrome and a guy teaching how to make 10 millions while this guy hasn't made 10 millions. It reminded me of a joke that, a seminar saying that I will teach you how to make 1 million, right? So people bought tickets for this seminar, and the guy just walks in, and he says that we have 1,000 people here. Each person paid 1,000 to enter this seminar. That's how I made 1 million. So yeah, it's reminded me of this ridiculous joke. But yeah, let's move on with next quality, because I think we spent quite a lot of time on confidence.
That's fine. Okay, so the second one would be, let's pick an interesting one. Creativity. This happens in quite a lot of articles, actually. Yes, go.
So this is very that's the misconception that I said about at the beginning, because people think that to be an entrepreneur, you have to be creative in a sense of, coming up on and on with amazing business ideas. And that's not true. You have to be creative in the sense of problem solving, because actually running a business is more or less solving your clients' problems. Like, more or less any business exists because of the problems of some group of people, right? So your task is to solve problems of those peoples, of your target audience. And of course you will have many small problems of your target audience, of your clients, many small and big problems of your own, that of your business, that you will need to solve. And an entrepreneur is a person who will be there to creatively solve these problems. In my sense, it's not about being like a business business ideas generator, I would say.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think that is the right way to do it, because I think people think about creativity. So for example, I never think I'm a creative person, right? I was like, these people can like draw these things or come up with like fantastic new idea. And we often tell ourselves the story that we are not creative enough, so we must not be successful because we cannot come up with original ideas. That's what people call it. But if you're not careful, then we keep telling ourselves that we're not creative enough, and then we just put off doing things that we know that we can do or we want to do. So I think I completely agree with you, which is creativity is actually not about coming up with new creative ideas. It's about when you put things into a a context of problem solving, then how do you become creative and solve that problem differently compared to other people using what you know? So the most common way of talking about it is when you see a lot of people zig, how can you zag, right? So what example can we give? I don't know. Let's say if people are doing, I don't know why marketing. Let's say people are doing marketing one way, right? People are all teaching about A and B, or using this way to get leads, or using this way to make a sale. When everyone is using that way, then you almost have to think about yourself, okay, I know that these are proven ways to work, but at the same time, how can I zag? How can I do things differently so that I think there are two things. One is that you stand out, and second thing is it's because it's a harder thing. You're taking a different path, which means you have to spend a bit more time and effort to find out a different solution to what people are doing already. But it's about taking the essence of what works, integrating and injecting a bit of your own ideas and personality, and that's the way that you zag.
Doing something better than others, doing more or less the same but better, and that's it. So very often it's not about great creativity. Very often it's just about small tweaks that you will just come up with. I just want to read a comment from our friend, from our latest guest, Adit, who recommends a book by Stephen Covey. I haven't read that book, so I'm not sure which book he's referring to, but probably if you Google it, you will find the best match for what Adit just commented. Thank you, Adit, for your comment. Yeah, shall we? Can I propose something? Can I propose something from what I what I found and what I agree with? Flexibility. I think it's extremely important, particularly in 2021, because the world is changing so fast that you have to be extremely flexible. But at the same time, you have to be very, let's say, cautious about your flexibility, because at some point you might find yourself, let's say, grabbing different things. So people sometimes associate flexibility with, doing what's trendy, so instead of focusing on some business and just going in certain direction, they just catch different things, right? And for me, flexibility is more of like, let's say you've run a farm, and you've been growing your plants on your farm for decades, the same way, the same method for 20 years, let's say, right? And eventually, government for some reason bans this method that you've been using to grow your plants. And flexibility will allow you to change your agricultural methods in such a way that you can continue doing your business instead of going bankrupt in 1 or 2 months because of so many, let's say, liabilities, and you don't have money to cover those liabilities because you went bankrupt due to the illegal method that so yeah, flexibility is about it's about being able to change your, let's say, state, your own state, but your business state, so quickly that you can keep on operating despite those unfavorable conditions that will occur to you.
Yeah, and it's also about flexibility in approach, right? So when I listen to some, it reminds me of Gary Vaynerchuk again. He always says, I don't get romantic about where I put my content. If there's people there, I'm doing it. If it fails, fine. But he never I think flexibility for me is that don't get too hooked up or hung up in one thing that you're doing, and simply because you spent so much time in that thing. Because when we make decisions, then the sunk cost thing comes in. You're like, oh, I spent X amount of time here, effort, money. I don't want to let go of it. But then if customers and trends and people have moved on to something different, then you kind of want to follow. Otherwise, you will become like a laggard. You will be left over. Your competitions may crush you, and simply because you were romantic with that one thing that you have put so much time and effort in, that you think, I really want to make it work. So completely, I think flexibility is, for me, is flexibility in that approach that you're taking when it comes to building a business, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, shall I move on to the next one? And this is the interesting one, right? So, collaboration and people skills.
And I would add communication skills under the same umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
like, because it's all about uh, it's all about building relationships with people, to be honest. Like, um, I guess I can say something about it, because right now, I've been entrepreneur for I've been building my business for 1.5 year now, but I have already been employing like 5 different people, picking them up, and starting working with them, firing them sometimes, and it's very important uh, to of course be a friend to people, to make a connection with them, because if they make a connection with you, then they will make connection with your business, and if they make a connection with your business, they will not work solely for their own business, let's say, for their own interest, but they will also build for your interest, for your business interest as well. So uh, let's take our example, when I was still working with you in the same company. Like, you like this company so much, I like this company so much at that time, that we've been doing our best, because we just liked our managers, who were our leaders. We liked the CEO, who was the leader of the leaders, so and he was like a face of the company. So yeah, it's just very important to build this connection with to have these skills, so that you can build this connection relationship with those people, so that they can work this extra mile for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because people working extra mile for you just because of money, or just because of their own interest, will eventually burn out, in my sense. But if you be able to build this special relationship with those people, then they will be working for the best interest of your company, and their interest, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you talk about people skills in terms of employees and sort of like people who work for you. I'll take a different spin, which is I'll talk about people skills and communication collaboration for customers. Especially when for in my case, for example, like I do everything, like I am myself, right? So, but there is not a lack of people skills and collaboration and communication, because my focus in applying people skills is to my customers or to my clients or to my students, to see how can I make them not just someone who attends like a course or a lesson, but turn them into raving fans, so that they tell their friends about you, or in this case, they tell their friends about me, right? So for me, that is like my measurement of, what, if people think you're so good that they will tell their friends about you, you have got something to offer. And I'm quite glad to say that, like I've got 3 or 4 people who do that. They refer people to me. And for me, that's, if you don't have people who report into you or who work for you yet, that does not mean that there is no collaboration or communication that needs to be applied. There has to be, because by working with people, for example, you have to apply people skills, you have to apply communication, you have to try to influence them, persuade them, work with them, understand where they're coming from. You might have business partners. So for example, like I recently reached out to this guy who is doing in the marketing stuff, and then we decided to collaborate on something together to just see how is this going to work, for example. So that it applies in everything, but I guess the important thing is that in order to grow, you either need to have people who work for you, you have to have partners, or you have to have customers. And because you're working with people, the people skills will never get away. It's always there, and it's a must to make sure you master that skill.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to add on top of that regarding also working with people within your company, not with clients outsiders, but um, my idea of being a good leader, because like entrepreneur has to be a good leader. That's just, everyone knows that, but to be a good team leader, you have to be good team worker, in the first place. Of course, not every good team worker will make good team leader, but every good team leader has to be good team worker in the first place, if you know what I mean. And very often people don't understand it when they are entrepreneurs or when they are the leaders, because very often they just want to boss people around instead of listening to them and building relationships as good team worker would do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, exactly that. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah, maybe I will toss something in.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. My favorite one, risk taking.
Risk taking.
Yeah.
Okay, go on. You want to elaborate on that?
I think that risk taking is just essential. Like, you can be an entrepreneur without risk taking, but you cannot be a successful entrepreneur without risk taking, because uh, it's like in every area of life, like the biggest winners are just the biggest risk takers. If, like Even comparing it to I don't know, gambling, for example, right? Like in gambling, you have to be the highest bidder to eventually be the biggest winner. Like, you have to, of course it's good to calculate your risk, make like very informed decisions when it comes to risk taking. But sometimes you will find yourself, as an entrepreneur, you will find yourself in situations when you just have to make a good judgment and take a risk in just few minutes, few seconds, whatever. And sometimes you just need to say, fuck it, let's do it that way. It just makes good sense, like risk. But of course you but this risk taking has to be supplemented by good intuition, because if you are just a risk taker and you just take stupid risks, risk after risk, risky business after risky business, without making good calls, then you will fail it all the time, right? But I guess eventually, if you learn on your mistakes, then you will get this better intuition, and then you will combine your risk taking with good intuition, and it will make you successful eventually. So yeah, like if you just do everything like avoiding the risk, you will probably will see just very slow growth, if any. But if you are a risk taker, there is this saying, that if you shoot for the moon, probably you will miss, but then you will be among the stars, right? So
That's a good saying. That's a good saying. I'll take the risk-taking one in a different angle. I'll take it from like myself as a hustler's angle, right? So for me, and by the way, intuition might be another thing that we can focus on completely in another episode, because you'd be like, how do I develop my intuition? Tell me more. So we'll talk about that in future.
yeah, we will write it down tomorrow.
Exactly, we'll write down tomorrow when we come to our discussion. But risk taking, I think I would take that in a sense that obviously we're talking about successful entrepreneurs, but I think when it comes to risk, it's really about taking calculated risk is the way that I see it. We're not asking you to take like a completely new thing, not knowing what you're getting yourself into. I don't know. I'm a very risk averse person, right? I used to calculate every single steps, but then they get to a point where I think, you know what? I think I'm really overthinking this too much, which makes me not taking enough action. So I know it's a problem. So what I had to do at that time is that I have to start to go, okay, how can I step out of so if you have a comfort zone, it's like instead of taking a full leap, is that how can I take like that, like that, like that before you make that jump?
Dip your toes in this
Dip your
cold
toes.
pond.
Correct. It's like swimming, right? You like before you jump all in into the pool, you like dip your toe and go, okay, the temperature is kind of okay, kind of okay, kind of okay. Then you jump. So I'll take an example, right? So for me, I actively invest in cryptocurrencies. Like,
Okay.
And when I was first introduced to cryptocurrency investment, I was like, oh, I'm not quite sure what this is. Blah, blah, blah. And then this is where the intuition comes in, which is, you know what? Yes, I'm going to an area that I completely don't know about. So my first job is I should really try to understand it first before I say no, because there's so much risk. So I went in there. I obviously invested in a course. I learned all about it. And people are like, oh yeah, you should start with using so for people who trade and invest, you will know that there is like a demo account that you can try. So try it out, get used to the ups and downs of the market. Then when you feel comfortable, you can do it. And at that time, I was just like, demo account, like, why? Like, I just jumped straight into real life market, right? I just like, boom. And for me, that is taking risk. But then I thought, if I'm going to learn it, if I lose the money, I have to learn my lesson. If I'm making money, then I have learned that lesson, or I really know what I'm doing. Then it's kind of like you're not going to lose out on anything anyway. So I guess but I know that the calculated risk is that I might lose, I don't know, $100, $200. And am I fine with that? If I'm okay, then fine, because I know that was where I was starting. So I guess from my perspective that is the way that I see risk now, which is, are you taking calculated risk? What is the worst that could happen if things don't go according to plan? And are you okay with the worst case scenario? If you're okay with the worst case scenario, then take it, jump into it and just see what it might bring you. So that's the way that I want to take that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Do you have another one that you want to add in that's on your
Um,
list?
Determination.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why I said determination, not motivation? Because there is difference. Like, motivation is a reason. Of course, you can have a reason, but reason is nothing if you do not act upon it. And determination is the drive, is the quality of you driving upon your reason. So people saying, oh, I have a motivation to do something, it's nothing. You have to have determination to leverage your motivation. So having a motivation is just, scrap it. You, like, on its own, just scrap it. But having determination is more important for an entrepreneur. Determination also fuels your self-discipline, which will also be another quality of good entrepreneur. That determination is a thing you have when you feel really down about your business, about your entrepreneurial career, but still You do not go watch Netflix for the whole day. You do not go, I don't know, drinking 3 days straight with your buddies just because you want to avoid your work. You still go and work and face the challenges. I wanted to say go to your computer, but I don't want to say this if sounded like, oh, we are the era of computer. But actually, all entrepreneurs in 2021, probably all of them, uh, okay, in developed countries, work with their computers. So you go to this computer and you solve those problems that I mentioned earlier. So that's the determination. Even if you feel bad about yourself, about your business or whatever, or maybe you have coronavirus, as I had. I still got to this computer. I still participated in our broadcast even when I had coronavirus. That's the
Hmm.
determination.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good one, and I think that actually links to another one that I want to bring in, which is decisiveness and being action oriented. It's kind of linked, but for me, it's exactly that, like determined, being persistent, but also a part that I think is strongly correlated with that is being decisive. It's like, because a lot of the times, when you're starting something new or you're coming across a lot of different challenges, approaches that you can take in a business directions, you always get like a situation where you have to make a choice. We're making thousands of choices every single day, consciously or unconsciously or subconsciously. But when it comes to big decisions like that, it's about, do I want to do it or not? Yes or no? If it's no, fine. No one cares about it, but you have to be comfortable with no. If it's a yes, you want to go all in yes. The worst that can happen, and it's a lesson that I'm learning as well, which is the worst that can happen is that you're half in no and half in yes, and you're not going anywhere.
Mm.
Because if you go all in on no, you're like, you know what, this is too hard. I just want to enjoy my life. Fine, you might as well just enjoy it completely, because there's nothing wrong with enjoying life. There's nothing wrong. But if you want to go, like, if you feel like there's a part of you that goes, you know what, I'm really curious as to what is happening on the other side, like what's going to happen, then you need to go all in on that. The worst that can happen is that you kind of want to enjoy life and you're kind of curious and you're always debating between these two, and all the person who will be suffering is yourself. So I'll actually say, just being decisive to go which one you want to go for, and once you decided, is to map out a plan of actions to go, what do I need to do next in order to make a progress towards this thing that I've just made a decision on, and you act on it. And I think action is the key thing, which is, I used to get thinking a lot, but now it's like, what is the tangible thing that I need to create or put out? That is action. It's not about, if you're thinking like, I need to think about this, think about this, fine, you can do all the thinking you want. But if you make the thinking on paper, for example, something tangible, or share that idea with someone else, get some feedback, then go do it. It's like that tangible thing is the action, but thinking inside here is not an action at all. So I think that relates very closely to what you just talked about in terms of determination. So for me, I think being decisive and action driven is a key quality if you want to be successful in any area, actually.
Yeah, but I guess this. I just wanted to add that decisiveness has some broader spectrum, which I think is that as an entrepreneur, you will always have to call the shots. Like, even if you have 500 people if in your organization, eventually, um, you will always make the final call. Like, of course, you will try eventually not to make final call on everything. Like, I don't know, picking a cleaning detergent that the cleaners at your organization will be using, but there are certain decisions that will be, raining on the small decisions. But yeah, you are responsible for everything, and you have to make a decision. Of course, you have to listen, you have to make informed decisions, but you are making decisions, and those decisions might cost you money, a lot of money, if you are working at scale eventually, right?
Yeah, completely. Right. Last one. What's on your last one? Is there any
But
list?
I think this was seventh, right?
I think this is 6.
No, this is seventh.
Is it?
Yeah,
Maybe I
it's
lost
seventh.
count.
Yeah, I know. I counted. It's seventh.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
I you know what? My list is still like
Thousands
half
of them.
full. So I have a proposition. Maybe we should run part two next week. Like, what do you think about
Sounds
that?
good. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I've got some here as well, and I think we haven't covered quite a few of them. So actually, instead of it being 7, it is going to be. We're talking about another set of 7 in the
Another
next
set
part.
of seven.
Another
But
set of
I
7.
think it will be interesting for people to tune in again if they liked it this week, and listen about another seven qualities that we picked as
Yeah,
important. And then we will
completely.
make a summary of. We will draw a picture of ideal entrepreneur.
Yeah, we just go like everywhere. It's all
Yeah,
this 14. Go do it. Go figure it out.
exactly.
Cool. I think that's pretty much it then. We've covered 7. And any closing remarks or comments from yourself?
Uh, um, I think that we should not look at this list as if you are missing one of those quality, you will fail. No, I think that if you have most of them, you will be successful eventually, and you will think of those qualities as you are stronger in some of them and you are weaker in others, right? So you are not strong in like risk taking, determination, creativity, confidence, communication skills. The same, let's say the strength of those qualities is not the same for you, but it might vary. But I guess you just have to be stronger, better in terms of those qualities than an average person.
Mhm. Yeah, the way that I see it actually is that we talk about 7, right? I think I think they are all good qualities. There's no doubt about that. And I think for me, the way that I see it is that when you have a challenging situation, you can almost use the 7 that we just talked about, and perhaps the next 7 we are going to talk about next week to go, you know what? I'm having this challenge now. Which one of these qualities can I maybe focus on now that can help me overcome this challenge?
Mm,
So
yeah.
for example, let's say confidence, right? If you need to do a presentation, you're like, oh, I'm really nervous for this presentation. It might not be about being determined or being people skills. It might be about, do I have the confidence to go on stage or to present this information clearly enough to them? It might be communication that you need to work on, right? So that can be one scenario. Another scenario might be when you're having a hard time, you're like, oh, can I just go and watch Netflix? I don't want to do it. Then it's about the determination that comes in, because that's what you need to focus at that moment in order to overcome that little obstacle or hurdle or challenge that you have at that time. So for me, it's a good list to have to remind you that these are all the good things that I can focus on. Which one of this would help me right here, right now in this situation, so that I can move forward and overcome this current situation that I'm in. So that's the way I see it. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. That's pretty much it then. I think that concludes this episode, which would be part 1 of
Yeah,
a 2-part
part one.
series. Now
Yeah,
it looks like.
maybe
So
we will find even more, and there will be like
a
the
trial
three parts.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah, 21
No,
in total.
hopefully not, because people will be bored at the third time. But yeah,
Mm.
hopefully people, those who are watching us tonight, will tune in next week.
Yeah. So next week we're going to talk about another set of 7, and then the week following after that is another guest series. It's another guest episode. So make sure you also tune in on that one, because we're going to find someone who can give you some gold, drop you some nuggets that you can really take away.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, then. I think that's it then.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
See
And
you.
yeah, work on your qualities.
Work on your qualities. That's it. Right. See you. Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye.